Hello and welcome back to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by your two favourite Arrakis citizens, Ben and Daniel. And it's been a while.
I was going to say, I'm looking a bit of a Harkonnen.
You are a Harkonnen, yes. It has been a little bit of a while. We've had a bit of a switch up from Madam Web, which is probably the best film of the year, to Dune Part Two.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know or you're not familiar with some of our content, this has been our most anticipated film for 2023 and 2024. It got our number one for 2023. Obviously got delayed due to the writers' strike. Thank the Lord that's over. They're getting paid what they deserve, and the screen actors.
Good.
And
glad that worked out.
Glad that worked out, and I'm glad it worked out because it meant we got this in Feb. Now, we are reviewing it also a little bit later. It came out a couple of days ago, but this was the earliest we could get for IMAX in Melbourne, which does show it in 1570. Now, I think it's one of about 12 cinemas in the world to do it as well, so it's probably fair to say that we saw this in the best possible format possible, which, did it deserve it? We'll unpack that.
Further.
We'll discuss that.
Yeah.
And, yes, it did. But no, obviously, if you're not familiar with Dune, you've obviously been living under a rock or under sand maybe. But it is the follow-up to obviously Dune 1 or Part 1.
Part 1, yeah.
Directed by Denis Villeneuve. Obviously
Who's
starring...
probably one of my favourite directors, one of the only ones I can ever remember.
Well, yeah. Probably.
But
I
probably
mean,
some
you've
of
got
my
Nolan,
top three films he's up there in.
Yes, but it's obviously a continuation of that. So you see Paul Atreides, who's played by Timothée Chalamet, and no need for me to go any further. It's probably one of the most hyped films since I can remember being alive for. But
well, why don't we kind of start with maybe commenting on some of the performances first before we dive into some of the rest of the stuff. How do you think everyone went?
That's funny you say that because I was going to bring up performances last. But
interesting.
No, I'm happy to start with performances, and I think it's fair to say that this film, similar to Avatar, like when Avatar came out, you kind of, when you watched it and even knowing beforehand, you realistically know it's probably going to sweep all the tech categories when it came to like the Oscars and award season. And I think it's fair seeing Dune that, in my opinion, it probably will win upwards of 6-7 Oscars next year. And it's probably a year to this. Like, I'm talking visual effects, sound, editing.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Cinematography, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm being very erratic here by any means. I genuinely do think that it deserves acting noms. For Austin Butler as Fade.
Yep.
I think I pronounced that correctly.
I believe you did.
And Timothy as Paul.
Man, he's so good.
Now, I kid you, like, everyone here, like, we've seen this a little bit after, like, general release and critic screenings and things like that. And obviously there's been a lot of talk on Twitter about, like, Timothy's performances, Austin, even Zendaya. Zendaya was fantastic in this as well.
Agreed.
But I actually thought everyone, there's no small roles in any film, but all the moving cogs in the film that obviously have sort of the side role, like Rebecca Ferguson was brilliant, who obviously plays Paul's mother.
Yep.
Dave Bautista's unreal, Christopher Walken, Florence Pugh. Like the cast is stacked. Josh Brolin as well, Javier Bardem. But I've seen a lot of talk about Austin Butler, and he did like every time he was on the screen.
He's got some props, doesn't he?
He's got
some
range.
acting props.
Like, obviously, he did Elvis, which was such a physical role.
Yeah.
And this is almost similar in the fact that the physicality side of it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he really stole the show, and like it's probably one of the best performances playing a villain I can remember since like Heath Ledger's Joker.
Man, you're gonna stump me on that one. I'm gonna have to think about a few, but he was good.
Well, like
he was
Heath
definitely
Ledger,
good.
that's 2008. So like obviously before that, you obviously have a few, but like that's probably one of the most memorable villain performances I've really seen.
I'll
in
never
quite some
forget
time.
the bad guy out of Madam Web, because his performance, I'll never forget that.
Thanks for that one.
Not a
And
good
then-
one. I'll
and
just
then
never forget it.
Timothée Chalamet, in my opinion, is probably one of the best working actors. Like
We talk about this regularly.
regardless of age, one of the best working actors in my opinion. When you go from releasing Wonka 2 months ago and then to see this, like just the range, and obviously you've got this like stoicism kind of performance, but there are two scenes in this film, like which are towards the end where Like, the man fucking cooks.
Yeah.
Like, spice, like, he demands, and I'm sure you know exactly what scenes I'm talking about, and I'm sure if you've seen the film, or once you see the film, you know what I'm talking about, like, demanded everything, and I'm like, I was drawn to the screen, getting goosebumps the whole time. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if I see him in, like, best actor category for this, because, like, it's obviously, you don't often see acting nominations come from big blockbusters.
Yep.
And I say that, obviously, it's a, you know, $200 or not $190 million film in that sense. Like, you don't often see it. But I really hope, because, like, they carried the...
Couldn't agree more. There was times where I was kind of lost in a scene waiting for him to do his, like, next part, his next act or whatever that was, and I probably wasn't paying attention to everything else, but he captivated the scene so much. He drew you into it. It was such a focal point that it was hard to, like, kind of move away from it. It was so exciting. What happens next? That's what I was...
like that. Even what you said then is baffling, not in a bad way. Like, in the way that this film is so beautiful, but, like, you're almost constantly watching Timothy. Like, when he's on screen, you're more drawn to him and his facial, like, his performance itself than the movie. And it's probably fair to say it's one of the best looking films I've ever seen. It's, I mean, recency bias aside, like, I try not to obviously have any recency bias, but looking at it, like, obviously this film, and it's an adaptation of the book, we all understand that. Denis has such an incredible way of adapting this. It's such a rich thematical film that obviously discusses a lot of things about faith, about religion, about all that side of things. And it's like, when you're watching, it's just bad. Like, I would like to see it again, obviously.
I'd like
before I make
it.
hasty comments, but, like, I genuinely do think this is probably the best sequel of all time. No, like, I'm not actually. I'm genuinely not kidding. It's probably my favorite sci-fi film I've ever seen in my life.
Best sequel of all time.
And the best sequel of all time.
Two Towers was pretty good, and Return of the King was also a great follow-up.
Well, I'd Return of the King's a threequel, yeah? And so,
okay. So
no. No, but, like... like, I'm genuinely, like, maybe nut it down to sci-fi. Obviously, Return of the King and Two Towers have got 20 years on this. This is 2 hours, 20 minutes.
Avatar was pretty good.
No, it's not the same. Like, it was a good experience.
No, they both had, like, massive scale, but you can't compare the two, I guess.
Avatar, like, is an impeccable filmmaking feat, but, like, this shits on it in terms of
there was
storytelling.
Acting performances in Avatar went absolute standouts for sure.
It's hard to rate a mocap. Yeah, hard to rate mocap performances usually, but no, like, man, like, Denis probably solidified his spot as my favorite working director.
We'd have to flash back to the first, I reckon, video we ever did where we introduced yourself. I'd love to see who you said at that time.
I think I did say Denis.
Did you?
I know I did. I
pronounce his name
I know
wrong.
he plans to obviously end it with Messiah. He plans to end it with the trilogy. I do hope in between now and then he does go off for, like, 2-3 years, or maybe, like, 2 years, and make a smaller film.
Yeah.
Just because I don't, like, I just don't want him to get beaten down with obviously the big cog of a $200 million film. Like, obviously he's made films like Arrival and Prisoners. Arrival's big scale, but, like, Prisoners in between. I think I can't remember the schedule of thing. Like Sicario was still a big film, but, like, it was a lot more contained.
Yeah,
it wasn't 200. So and those films have been impeccable, really. So I do hope he does that, so he doesn't get drawn down and, like, run down from because I can imagine it'd be very, very full on process directing a film like this, as well as overlooking everything they're editing. But
I feel like a break would be good too. It gives you that idea to kind of have a good refresh and then jump into it and, like, really give it your 100% instead of kind of being burnt out from, I guess, doing a film as big. I guess with the scale of it too, which is probably one of the next parts we could touch on, is we talk about always the weight of a film, the weight of shots, the way things are framed.
Weight of sound, especially in this,
Sound. Oh, man. You're right. The whole time, everyone saw it in the trailer, the silence. where he says that, and I was freaking waiting for it, and it was delicious.
It's not only just the use of the sound, it's the use of silence as well. He really knows when to utilize that to like draw out the big sound. Like obviously when you've got the use of thumpers, like it's completely silent when it's completely silent and they're setting it up, and then like it's, you know, it goes up and then dun, dun, like, but in IMAX, and I don't know what cinema people have seen it at, but like in IMAX, especially with the sound system they've got in there, like you feel that. And it's like, it just makes, I don't know. Like, I really am struggling to find the words. Like, let's put it, like, I genuinely, I don't like, this is probably a very odd thing to say, but like,
here we go.
I try not to, no, but like, I did sit there and kind of felt emotional in the film to the point that like, I actually was watching it with a smile on my face, and I was actually close to tears, being like, I am so thankful I'm alive to see this in a cinema. That's it, like that.
That's pretty cute.
I'm not kidding. I was like, this is. I feel like in 30 years, you know, I'll be like to my kid, like, I was there at the cinema.
I was there.
I remember it all too well. You know, Taylor Swift lyrics, but I was there. I remember it. No, yeah, don't know. I'm on a 10. No, but like, I genuinely was like that. Like, and I'm sure you've probably had people have experienced it once in their life where you're like, yeah, I'm glad I'm alive to witness this kind of thing. And like, sci-fi is a very, very hard thing to nail.
And it's probably my favorite genre too.
It's probably like, I mean, I talk about horror and rom-com, but like sci-fi, obviously you got to have the visual aspect of it down, but you got to have the world build. Like obviously, yes, there is a book and it is an adaptation, but like, how he's nailed, obviously he did even Blade Runner 2049, which is
one of my favorite movies ever.
In my opinion, a perfect movie. But this, man, I can't give this film enough praise. Like, Denis got the sauce.
Yeah.
And I sound like I'm glazing hard, and I probably am. Like, I probably am. But, like, I mean, bear in mind, like, do remember that I have seen this film 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, we're pretty fresh out of this
Pretty fresh. And it's like, I would like to see it again to soak it all in. But, like, at the same time, I could see it again and be like, it's even better the second time.
I didn't know a desert could look so beautiful. You know,
I think they filmed it in Jordan or Petra Jordan or whatever.
Man, it was
I can't remember
gorgeous. Like you think of like the barrenness of it, and that would create like a boring environment. But like the weight and depth behind the universe mixed with the desert created these unreal shots. It was absolutely excellent.
Oh, Greg Fraser, who's the DP, like the cinematographer, is probably one of my favorite working. Like he's not. It's not like you watch certain cinematographers like Emmanuel Lubezki and they're like, you know, they've had a lot of films where they're using handheld and like interesting. Yep. But like the films he does to do, which he did the Batman, Dune 1, Dune Part 2, like they're impeccable. He's a fellow Australian. Good. So like love that. But no, just everything. Like the film looked beautiful. It sounded beautiful. The performances, it's one of the best feats of direction I've seen in a while. Like... I can't give it enough praise.
Can't put all the words together. Well, no. When it comes to what we normally say with a sequel, mate, the 3 Bs, how are we feeling on the bigger?
It was definitely bigger. It was definitely bolder, like storytelling wise, and then
acting wise too.
In my opinion, it is a better film. I love Dune Part 1 with all my heart. I rated it a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but like I'd be ignorant to say like there aren't a few like. It definitely feels like a part 1. And there's not, it's very much a world building film. There's not much like actually
That's how I tell people too. It's kind of like a whole 3-hour world building film where you kind of learn a lot about the universe, but nothing happens. And it's the most entertaining nothing happening ever. And that's how
But where this film also does impeccable feat is... It'll make the first one better.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It does make the first one better, and I would love to watch them in like a double billing because it really does obviously pick straight up where the first one left off. And I would love to watch them. Yeah. But no, like, man, I don't know. I actually sit here and I'm baffled at how the film was made. It really puts a shame to every other film I've seen that costs more than 190 million. Captain Marvel, like the Marvels cost 285 million, I think.
Mermaid was 250.
Yeah.
The Little Mermaid.
Which, like, it made the money, but, like, it's just baffling because, like, this film is probably one of the most bold-looking films in terms of, like, concept, like, the art for all the, locations, the vehicles, obviously the location, the scout. Like, I don't know how they've done it for that money. Like, I really don't. It's either that every other film is not utilizing any resource properly and might be, you know,
Rushing
some tax evasion scheme. I don't know. That's genuinely how I feel. Like, I just don't know how
Fair.
any other film has it been more expensive than this. Like, apart from obviously like films like Avatar, The Way of Water, it's like, I get it. But when you've got films like Thor, Love and Thunder and Captain, like Marvel's 2 and these films coming out that just like are $50-60 million more expensive, and you can make 5 good films with that cost.
With a similar cast too. It's not like they've casted, I was going to say low level, like it's a video game, but you know, they haven't casted less known, well-known actors. They still have the peak of high quality and the budget's still less.
The thing with a film like this though, and it usually will happen, is like a lot of actors will take pay cuts to be
they're
part
just like,
of it.
I want to be part of this.
Yeah, it's the same with like working with Christopher Nolan and like Martin Scorsese. It's like usually people, like I think it's reported that like Timmy Chalamet made like $2 million for the film.
Oh.
But like for Wonka he made like 20.
Yeah.
That's reported. That's not confirmed, but like that's been, you know, rumored. But no, I beg everyone to go. I don't know if you have much more to say.
Nah,
I'm really kind of
soaking it up.
struggling for words because it is quite hard to talk about right after. Maybe, yeah, you know.
Be interesting watching this when we maybe when we do a reflection at the end of the year on the year in review.
come to year in review and next, like at the, you know, our best of 2024, which I'm sure this will probably appear in it, obviously from the
good
sound of
chance.
it. But it'd be interesting to hear probably my thoughts then. I might reflect back on this video because I probably would have seen it by a couple of times by then. I would have bought it on 4K.
Yeah.
Watched it, but like it's a film I can't wait to see. I will say the 2 hours and 50 minutes as well breezed by compared to the it did not feel that long.
I
and
didn't
was
find
drawn-
myself waiting. Nah.
No, I at this stage, like I genuinely have no faults for the film. I think in terms of filmmaking, the film itself, the sci-fi, like for a sci-fi film, it's like one of the best sci-fis of all time. For a film in general, it's still like one of the favorite, one of my favorite sequels of all. Like I'm not kidding. Where it's like I genuinely am just like baffled right now at the fact that this exists as a film.
It's just beautiful. It's great to be alive. Good time to be alive, man.
Yeah, no, yeah, correct. It is a great time, but if you have seen it, which I'm sure you have, do comment below. Let us know what you think, which I'm sure we all know. If you don't like it, go get help. Watch Little Pony 2 or something. That's all I can say. I don't know. Watch a different sequel. But no, if you do like our content, you like our review, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.